حفظ القيادة السورية على أرواح مواطنينا وأمن بلدنا.
Assad does not have significant military capability.
إذا قتلونا مع اللبن نروح البيتنا.
Good afternoon on this Monday, September 16th. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's headlines. Tensions mount in Zahle as a result of Hezbollah's attempt to expand its party's telecommunications network in the city. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and British Foreign Minister William Hague meet with President François Hollande to discuss the implementation of Saturday's Geneva Accord in Syria. And UN chemical weapons inspectors hand in their report into the alleged gas attack in Syria to UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Tensions are high in the big city of Zahle after members of Hezbollah attempted to expand the party's telecommunications network in the area. On Sunday, armed members of the party deployed along the highway extending between the city's industrial zone to the Marshalbil church in an attempt to expand the network. Residents of the city protested against its actions and temporarily blocked the road in the area. The army soon after intervened and set up checkpoints in the industrial zone, and security forces deployed patrols in the city, which led to Hezbollah's withdrawal from the area. Soon after, however, some 15 party gunmen in a white van returned to the vicinity of the Marshalbil church. Speaker Nabih Berri is voicing his dissatisfaction with the discussions in the Development and Liberation Bloc that has so far held with political powers and that are aimed at tackling his initiative to resume dialogue. He added that the Development and Liberation Parliamentary Bloc has held a satisfactory meeting so far with President Michel Sleiman, caretaker Prime Minister Najib Miati, and Premier-designate Tamam Salam. He told the Daily An-Nahar that he will relay to Sleiman the culmination of the bloc's talks with parties, and only then will he take the decision to resume dialogue. But he had proposed the resumption of national dialogue at the Babda Palace for a period of at least 5 consecutive days to discuss the form and policy statement of the future cabinet. He said Salam should attend the all-party talks that bring together the rival March 8 and 14 alliances. U.S. Ambassador to Lebanon David Hale stresses the importance of adhering to the Babda Declaration that calls for Lebanon to distance itself from regional conflicts. He said after holding talks with Free Patriotic Movement leader MP Michel Aoun, quote, "We also discussed the Babda Declaration and agreed that it provides a foundation for all Lebanese to deal with the challenges that we face today. I think it would be natural for me to say that our dialogue certainly revealed areas of common agreement as well as areas where we may differ." He added after the meeting they also discussed the implementation of the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701, and he remarked the United States believe that Lebanon will only achieve lasting stability with the full implementation of all outstanding UN security resolutions and with all parties abiding by those provisions as well as those of the Babda Declaration. Britain, France, and the United States have agreed on the need for a strong and binding UN resolution on the transfer of Syrian chemicals weapons to international control, kickstarting a week of intense diplomatic activity in the wake of a weekend U.S.-Russia deal on the dismantling of Syria's deadly arsenal. French President François Hollande met in Paris with U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and British Foreign Minister William Hague. Aides to Hollande said the three countries were united in their determination to ensure Syrian President Bashar al-Assad complies fully and swiftly with Saturday's Geneva Accord. The Geneva Accord gives Assad a week to hand over details of his chemical weapons stockpiles and calls for inspections of what the U.S. says are some 45 sites linked to the program to be underway by November.
Important discussion with an important turn of events since I was last here. A week ago, the Syrian regime did not admit that it even had chemical weapons. Today, that regime has agreed, at least through the Russians and in some statements publicly, to rid itself of those weapons, to be accountable to the world and its standards, and to sign up to the Chemical Weapons Convention. Clearly, nothing can be accepted at face value or in words alone. And that is why our meeting and the efforts so critical. It is significant that 3 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council are standing here together, 3 partners, all joined in unity of purpose and of understanding of what needs to be done. And I want to thank Foreign Minister Fabius and Foreign Secretary Haig for their constant collaboration in these last days as we have worked towards this unique initiative to secure Syria's chemical weapons. And I know that I speak for President Obama when I say we are very grateful in the United States to have such able and willing partners. As I said in Jerusalem yesterday, we're now moving to translate into a broader international effort what was achieved in Geneva with the cooperation of the Russians, with the efforts of President Putin and Foreign Minister Lavrov. But each of us here today are here to emphasize the same thing, that what we achieve in this agreement as we translate Geneva Agreement into a United Nations resolution has to be strong, and it has to be forceful, it has to be real, it has to be accountable, it has to be transparent, it has to be timely. All of those things are critical, and it has to be enforced. If the Assad regime believes that this is not enforceable and that we are not serious, they will play games. And we know that even the UN inspectors who were there recently had difficulties getting access in some places. That is why in Geneva, the Russians agreed with us that there should be unfettered, unrestricted access to sites.
UN chemical weapons inspectors hand in their report into the alleged gas attack in Syria to UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. The report into the incident, in which more than 1,400 people are believed to have died last month on the outskirts of Damascus, will be unveiled later today. UN spokesman Martin Nazirki said the Secretary General will brief a closed session of the UN Security Council on its contents on Tuesday morning. He will also brief the 193-member General Assembly later in the day. The inspection team, led by Swedish expert Aki Sellström, was mandated to report on whether chemical weapons were used in the Damascus suburbs, and if so, which chemical weapons were used, not who was responsible. The U.S. and some allies say there is no doubt that forces loyal to Assad were responsible for the August 21st incident. Jihadists and members of hardline Islamist groups make up almost half of forces fighting against Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, according to extracts from a British defense study published in Monday's Daily Telegraph. The analysis by defense consultancy IHA's Janes, due to be published in full later this week, puts the number of rebel forces at around 100,000. The study concluded that these fighters have split into as many as 1,000 bands since violence flared 2.5 years ago. Of the rebel forces, IHA's Janes estimates that around 10,000 are jihadists fighting for groups linked to al-Qaeda, and another 30,000 to 35,000 are hardline Islamists who differ from jihadists in that they are concentrated only on the Syrian conflict and not on the global Islamist fight. The study is based on interviews with militants and on intelligence estimates. And coming up next, American parents can use their smartphones now to protect their children. More on that when we come back. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The central Egyptian town of Delga has been stormed by army troops. According to officials, the town was held for over a month by supporters of ousted President Mohamed Morsi, who had launched a campaign against Christian residents. Security officials said that soldiers and police entered the town in the central Minya province just after dawn, searching homes and arresting several Islamists. According to the official MENA news agency, all 32 entrances to the village had been blocked, and a daytime curfew forced by Morsi loyalists on the town of 120,000 people. The raid on the town comes amid a massive crackdown on Islamists following the military's ouster of President Morsi on July 3rd, plunging the country deeper into mayhem. The head of Baghdad's provincial council escapes an assassination attempt on his convoy, and attacks across Iraq kills at least 46 people in a string of more than a dozen car bombs. This violence is the latest in months of unrelenting bloodsheds, the country's worst since 2008. The authorities have imposed tough restrictions on movement in the capital and its suburbs, and carried out widespread operations against militants in an attempt to eradicate the attacks. No group has yet claimed immediate responsibility for the violence. For headlines around the world in brief, engineers are beginning to lift the wrecked Costa Concordia liner upright in the most complex and costly maritime salvage operations ever attempted. With the cost estimated so far more than $795 million, it is expected to be the most expensive maritime wreck recovery ever, according for more than half of overall insurance loss of more than $1.1 billion. The vast hulk of the 114 500-ton cruise liner had been lying on its side for more than 20 months, dominating the tiny port in the Tuscan holiday island, where it hit rocks last January, killing 32 people. The death toll from last week's severe flooding in Colorado is escalating, with 4 confirmed deaths and 2 people missing. The latter are among hundreds who remain unaccounted for and thousands who have been evacuated from their homes. The Laramie County Sheriff, Justin Smith, said to members of the media that efforts were being exerted to rebuild those communities affected by the flooding. National Guard troops and local emergency crews are still looking for people trapped by the waters and trying to rescue them. It is called the Operation Predator app, the first of its kind in U.S. federal law enforcement. This new smartphone application has been launched by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement last week to assist parents and residents in protecting their kids by tracking down those who commit crimes against children. The application has been designed to help rescue children from sexual abuse by locating predators. The app also allows informants to speedily forward information by email or phone call. The new tool has received positive feedback from parents anxious to protect their children. Users can also read about the latest arrests and convictions, as well as receive periodic alerts about wanted predators in their area straight to their phones. Nina Davuluri is the first young lady of Indian heritage to be crowned Miss America. Davuluri, aged 24, won the Miss America 2014 pageant at the annual event that took place at the Boardwalk Hall in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The new American beauty made it to the top 5 finalists after performing a classical and Bollywood fusion dance during the talent competition. Davuluri has made a statement expressing how happy she felt that the organization embraced diversity. Not everyone was equally enthusiastic about the news, though. Some members of the online community used Twitter as a hub for racist criticism pertaining to Davuluri's skin color and even religion. And on that note, we end our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. Tensions amount in Zahle as a result of Hezbollah's attempt to expand its party's telecommunications network in the city. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and British Foreign Minister William Hague meet with French President François Hollande to discuss the implementation of Saturday's Geneva Accord in Syria. And UN chemical weapons inspectors hand in their report into the alleged gas attack in Syria to UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Those are your Monday headlines live on Future Television in Beirut. I'm Yumna Naufal wishing you a good night.
حفظ القيادة السورية على أرواح مواطنينا وأمن بلدنا.
Assad does not have significant military capability.
إذا قتلونا مع التابعين يحددنا.